Bavaria, Germany, April 4th, 1922. 6 bodies, including those of a 7- and 2-year-old, are found inside a remote farmstead. The bodies lay lifeless across the blood-soaked floors, bearing signs of some of the most brutal and barbaric attacks imaginable. This horrific discovery marked the start of an enduring mystery, filled with eerie premonitions, strange occurrences, and questions that remain unanswered to this day. This are the Hinterkaifeck Farm Murders. The Hinterkaifeck farm was a remote homestead owned by the Gruber family in the southeast German state of Bavaria. The family, consisting of Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and her 2 children, Cecilia and Josef, were known to be a reclusive and private one. Widely disliked by most of their nearby neighbours, the Grubers had a long history of troubling scandals. The father, Andreas, was known for his strict, aggressive and abusive behaviour, which spread rumours of domestic violence within the household. Accusations of incestuous behaviour between him and his daughter, Victoria, were also made, with many believing her youngest, Joseph, to be the result of this illicit relationship. Such claims eventually caught the attention of the local authorities, and both Andreas and Victoria were found guilty, and he was sentenced to a year in prison. The daughter, Victoria, was a widow. She had lost her husband, Carl Gabriel, during World War I, though his body was never found. However, she was also known to have had a relationship outside the family with a man named Lorenz Schlittenbauer, who was also said to have been Josef's father, which added to the family's complex and troubled reputation. About 6 months before the murders, the family's housemaid, Crescens Rieger, reported strange occurrences from within the house, which she believed came from ghosts. She claimed to have heard noises, footsteps, and even voices that came from the attic. And about 6 months before the murders, in September 1921, out of fear of believing that the farm was haunted, she left the house. These claims, however, were not publicly known until after the murders, when she was interrogated by the police. While Andreas had initially disregarded her claims as superstitions or mere fabrications, in the following months, members of the Gruber family began to experience a series of strange events that would make them question their safety and sanity. In early March 1922, Andreas found an unfamiliar newspaper that had been delivered to their home. It appeared to have come from Munich, but seemed strange as he had no recollection of ever subscribing to it or purchasing it. A few days before the murders, Andreas had spotted some footprints in the snow that were coming from within the depths of the nearby woods and leading to one of the farm's engine rooms. However, no signs of the footprints leading back were found. It was around this period that the family had begun to hear noises coming from the attic, similar to those described by the previous housemaid just 6 months before. Alongside these unsettling sounds, the family noticed the disappearance of some of the house keys. It is important to mention that while Andreas had discussed these occurrences with several of his neighbours, he had refused their help and never made a report to the police. Friday, March 31st, 1922. The new housemaid, 44-year-old Maria Baumgartner, arrives at the house on what would be her first and last day. The Grubers had not been seen or heard from in days. Concern grew among the nearby villagers, particularly when the daughter, Cecilia, did not attend school, and the family missed their usual Sunday service at the local church, a notable absence that couldn't be ignored. On the afternoon of April 4th, 1922, after days of mounting concern, neighbour Lorenz Schlittenbauer and 2 of his friends decided to finally investigate the eerie silence at the Hinterkaifeck farm. It was then that they made a horrifying discovery. Upon entering the barn, they found the bodies of Andreas, his wife Cecilia, daughter Victoria, and granddaughter Cecilia, all covered in hay. Immediately after realizing the grim reality, Lorenz rushed into the house, only to find that the new housemaid Maria and young Joseph had also been murdered. The men rushed to report the murders to the local authorities, and a few hours later, Inspector Georg Reingruber and his team began their investigation. The day after, an autopsy performed on site by Johann Baptist Aumiller found that each one of the members had been brutally attacked with what appeared to have been a mattock or a pickaxe. Cecilia Gruber's skull had been crushed repeatedly around 7 times, the force of which was evident due to the fractures and shattered bones. Her daughter, Victoria, had suffered a similar fate, her head bearing multiple devastating wounds that left her face nearly unrecognisable. Andreas's skull had been struck with such force that his flesh was torn apart and his cheekbones stuck out, leaving a gaping wound. His granddaughter, Cecilia, had also endured a horrific attack. However, it was revealed that unlike the rest, her death was not immediate and she remained alive for a few hours after the initial attack. The girl's hands were found holding clumps of her own hair she'd torn out from the shock and pain she went through before her death. The housemaid, Maria Baumgartner, was discovered lifeless on her bed, her head battered with the same brutality as the others. Lastly, Joseph, the youngest victim. His life ended with a single lethal blow. Despite the authorities' efforts, many questions still remained unanswered. Who was the killer? Who would commit such heinous acts? And what was the motive behind these brutal attacks? Was it an act of robbery? Well, it seems not. Robbery was ruled out almost immediately as no signs of theft were evident, with large amounts of cash and jewellery left untouched. Evidence and witnesses suggested that the murderer or murderers had stayed in the house for at least a few days after the killings. Smoke had been seen coming from the chimney, the dog and the livestock had been fed and taken care of, and even freshly made meals were found inside the kitchen. Meaning that the killer had continued to perform the family's daily tasks and chores while the bodies lay lifeless in the other rooms. The motive had to be something far more sinister and personal. The sheer brutality of the attacks, combined with the killer's comfort in staying at the farm afterward, pointed to a profound rage and obsession towards the family. While the murders remain unsolved, it is said that over 100 suspects emerged during the investigation. One of the prime suspects was none other than neighbour Lorenz Schlittenbauer. The troubling and conflicting relationship with the family, particularly with Andreas, Victoria and her son Josef, developed when Andreas interfered with his plans of marrying his daughter. This interference, coupled with the already complex and tense dynamics involving the paternity of the boy, led many to believe he had reasons to kill out of anger and frustration. He was also very familiar with the property, and was even said to have had access to the house keys. Coincidentally, he was also the first to discover the bodies, and his behaviour was described by witnesses to be unusual, suspicious, and overly calm. The next suspect was Carl Gabriel, Victoria's ex-husband. Although it was believed he had died during war, his body was never recovered, leading many to question his true fate. Theories began to spread that Carl was alive and had returned to Germany, only to find his wife raising the child of another man. Consumed by jealousy and resentment, he killed his wife, her baby, and the rest of the family to eliminate any witnesses. Some neighbours reported seeing a mysterious figure that resembled Carl lurking around the house in the days before the murders. This theory grew years later after several people claimed to have seen him during World War II as a Soviet officer. Despite these rumours, no definitive evidence linked Carl Gabriel to the crime, leaving his role in the case shrouded in uncertainty. Some have ventured beyond the physical realm, proposing that the killer might not have been human at all. Theories range from vengeful spirits to demonic entities, or even a curse. The strange noises coming from the attic and the eerie occurrences in the days leading up to and following the murders have led some to believe that the Grubers may have been targeted by something far more sinister, something from beyond our world. Despite these suspicions and numerous interrogations, no one was ever charged with the murders. The lack of definitive evidence and the passage of time have left the case shrouded in mystery, with the true identity of the killer or killers remaining unknown. What do you think? What do you make of the bizarre events leading up to the murders? Do you believe this case will ever be solved, or will it remain an unsolved mystery forever? Let us know below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe for more dark and mysterious tales. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Who or what should we investigate next? Which dark historical figure or enigmatic event piques your curiosity? Let us know.